What's up, and welcome to another episode of the Grindline Podcast. You're listening to episode 292. I am your host, Greg. I have Ryan and Tyler tonight for this, I guess, rushed episode because me and Tyler were going to record tomorrow, and then things actually happened, and now we're recording tonight. So we're going to try and get this one done. I will talk a little bit about the prospect tournament because I was apparently the only one home this weekend. And then we're going to talk about some big Detroit news. But how you guys doing tonight?
Good. A little bit underwhelmed by that welcome to the podcast intro, but other than that, pretty good. Tired, but I'm good.
I'm trying to get you off a podcast so you can go do school stuff. So you should be
I was
thankful.
expecting much more excitement based on the news that we finally had dropped this
I
afternoon,
think we
if you will.
re-record it.
No, you
I'm
shut up.
just
I'll get
saying.
excited when we move into the segment. Here we go.
Okay. Yeah, sure.
No, so he's slow playing it.
Sandbagging, Tyler. How are you?
I'm doing good. I can't complain too much. Happy about the news that we're going to talk about, but otherwise, excited, really excited.
All right. We want to do big news off the top then.
Yep.
Let's do big news off the top. All right. Big news. Big news in Detroit. Jonatan Berggren signs a 1-year contract at $825,000. That's the big news. I mean, it's not the big news of the day, but it is good news. It happened.
That's great
first.
news.
So Berggren gets a year. If you look at Evolving Hockey's, I pulled up Evolving Hockey's contract projection. They projected him at 1 year, $1.022 million. So he comes in under $1 million, pretty close to league minimum, which I believe is $775,000. I believe is league minimum for this year. So it gets done. I mean, it's one of the ones we were waiting for to get done, and it got done.
No, and that's what you need. I mean, this is a guy that we've talked about. This is a guy for the last several years of being excited for. I've probably been overly excited more than most out of the three of us, but he is a great role player potentially. We know that he is, or what he was bringing to Grand Rapids over the last year, especially when it came to the playoffs this past season. He was invaluable to them there. I mean, to me, as I go back over and over, I've compared him the playmaking ability to a Zetterberg, and you can expect potentially something as a Nyquist. I'm not just trying to throw that out there because of the nationality, but it makes it an easy comparison. That with the size and the style of play that he brings, it could work out very well in Detroit's favor. 1-year deal, lets some contracts fall off, lets him try to prove it, as many people have stated today with the news dropping. So you can see him come in. Does Kane stick around much longer? What happens to Christian Fischer? What happens to Tyler Mott? There's a lot of guys knocking on the door. Like, can you solidify yourself in place of a Patrick Kane maybe not returning after this 1-year deal expires? Are you going to fill a role of a Christian Fischer? Like, can you put yourself in different situations? Well, now, will the coaches put you in those different situations? Are you even going to make the roster coming out of training camp? But there's a lot of unknowns, but it's also a safe bet, and I'm pumped.
I think can you either take your offense to the level of a second line winger despite your defensive, have your offense outweigh your defensive liabilities, or can you up your defense enough to match your offensive output to be an effective third line guy? I think those are the two really big, like that. Those are pretty black and white choices, and that's where he's at right now.
I mean, to me, he would fit in very well with Kopp and Rasmussen. The way that those two attack the puck lets Burgers go free a little bit, but they're also quick enough, meaning Raz and Kopp, to get themselves into open ice to set him up. But we've also know, and from what we've watched, especially this past year, and I'm going to reference the playoffs again for Grand Rapids, Burgers got a nasty shot. That's been no secret for the last couple of years.
Yeah.
If now you've got free space because you've got a guy like Raz or Kopp taking bodies out in front of the net, and you're giving Burgers some room, that could be the recipe for your third line, which lets you float Christian Fischer between the third and fourth line at that point, and now you've got some decent balance in your bottom six.
100% agree. I mean, I personally didn't think that this was going to happen. Not because they didn't have the money to do it. I just didn't think that with the production that he had in Detroit, it was going to be worth even tendering him a contract. I was kind of shocked that they did that. And then, you extend him, which, it's fine. It's a 1-year deal, essentially. He was great in Grand Rapids, one of the better players on the team. I believe he had 56 points in 53 games or something like that. And, you thought that once he got called up to Detroit, that the fluidity would carry over, and it just really didn't. And that's to blame of probably the personnel he played with. And, you got to think that if he comes up to start the season and he gets to have some flow and some continuity playing up in Detroit, that the numbers are going to be similar to what you saw in 22-23, where he was, one of the better players on the team. Maybe not one of the better players on the team, but definitely one of the better young players on the team, where he had 28 points in 67 games. So you want to see something similar to that or even better than that. But I mean, that would be huge, again, from a guy that you thought may not even get a contract. So this is where you start to build your depth and all that stuff. And if you can have a player that you thought you kind of wrote off at this point, if you can have a player like that come in and have 15 goals, that's fucking huge.
Yeah, I think that going back to Ryan's point, I think right now it just becomes important to surround him with the players like the Rasmussen and like the Cop and let them pick up the defense where he kind of lacks a little bit.
One other thing I was going to say before I cut out there was I feel like he needs to still make the team out of camp. There's no guarantee he makes the team out of camp. And the biggest thing is there's some guys that are younger than him that have a chance to, outplay him and take his job away, basically, because it's not his job at this point. So I don't know. I feel like there's some benefits to this contract. I mean, it's a 1-year deal. It's not a lot of money. What was it?
$825,000.
Yeah, so it's nothing major, but at the end of the day, it's like you build your depth. Hopefully he makes the team, because if he makes the team and he gives you some production, then a guy that you wrote off is now somebody that you look at as part of depth. So I don't know. I feel like that's the way I would look at it. Some people are being negative about it online. Shocking, right? But again, I don't really see any downside to it, because a player that has a contract is easier to trade than a player that doesn't have a contract. So that's where I'll leave it.
The GM speaks, like Steve Yzerman speaks highly of him. The coaching staff speaks highly of him. They've been in continuous contact with him. Didn't seem like there was any rub the wrong way between him and the organization. So I do think that he plays. I do think that, like Ryan said, they put him on line with some more defensively responsible guys and tell him to go out and score goals. And that's where some of your depth scoring replacement's going to come from. When you lose a guy like Shane Gostisbehere and you lose points there, when you lose a guy like Daniel Sprong, we said Berggren needs to be your Daniel Sprong, but better defensively than Daniel Sprong, so he's not sat every night because the second that he loses the puck, it's in your own net. So I that's what I expect out of a Berggren. It's exciting to have him back because, again, not that he's not a guy that you didn't think that we'd give him a contract. He's a guy that at one point we thought might never play hockey again because of how injured he got. And it's actually, I think, pretty impressive to have the injury setbacks that he has had and then be able to come back to this point and be as productive as he has been. Because normally we've seen injuries that keep people out for an extended period of time, especially with guys like, in recent memory, Evgeny Svechnikov, just completely derail someone's career to the point where they never recover. So it's actually really impressive what Berggren's been able to do.
But it's exciting.
It's exciting. We'll take exciting.
Love it. I'm that one. I think I'm as pumped, if not more, than what we're about to talk about.
One more thing before we cut over, because we're going to spend tonight talking about contracts, and I just want to mention stuff about the prospect game. Tyler was mentioning that Berggren might not even make the roster because of guys that are coming in. There was some really good play. I say really good play kind of loosely because it was a prospect game, 2 prospect games between the Red Wings and the Dallas Stars prospects. You had goals in game 1 from Paquette, Seager, Richlovsky, 2 from Doucette. And then you had goals in game 2 from Doucette, Johannes, and Emmett Finney. There was a lot of assists. So Finney got assists, Booyam got assists, MBN got assists. He only played one game. He tweaked his groin, so he only played the first one. But for guys that have an opportunity, I think, to force the hand would be someone like Nate Danielson, who both games after period one, the Red Wings of the first game, the Red Wings really controlled play for the next 5 periods of hockey. The second 2 of game 1 and all of game 2. But Nate Danielson was noticeable nearly the entire time, making great passes. Empty net goal got called back on an offside. He had an assist in the tournament. He just was consistently looked, like we say, very smart out there. The carried play, was able to get the puck into the open areas, find open guys. It's just the guys that he found didn't bury it. But what was more impressive was a second line of, I believe it was Doucette, Lombardi, and Johannes. And Johannes is a big guy. He's going to go play for Grand Rapids. Amadeus Lombardi, to his credit, showed out. The kid flew down the ice. He was on the pucks. He was setting up. He was grabbing rebounds. He looked fantastic. And Alex Doucette also looked really good. Now, do I think Lombardi and Doucette have the ability right now to upend the chances Berggren has? No. But I think if you were to say this is a guy that could do it right now based on the prospect games, and we'll see how preseason goes, Nate Danielson might be that guy.
Yeah, in the short period of time that I saw, because I watched a lot of football this weekend, as probably a lot of people did. In the short little bit that I saw, Danielson showed out. He was the best player on the ice, probably for both teams in the game that I watched. And if he makes the team, obviously that's not going to be specifically the reason for. But it's funny you say smart, because he is a very cerebral kind of player. He really does know where to be, but not only where to be, but what to do to get the puck out of the corner. Obviously, he's a big guy, but I feel like he's going to have an inside tread to try and make this team if he can go in training camp and do some of the things he did in that prospect camp in real training camp.
Yeah, I think a good word to describe Nate Danielson is relentless. If he loses the puck, he's on it. If he doesn't have the puck, he's trying to go get it. It's just, he has no stop. He's all motor, which is extremely impressive for kind of his age and where he's at in development. I think it's really cool. Plus, he just dropped one of the funniest clips ever. The social media team was doing having them autograph pictures of them as kids. They went out and found pictures of them as kids, and he's walking up and he goes, fuck. And then he sees that they're taping and he points and goes, oh shit. So they beat both of them, and it's hilarious. And he swore and smiled in the same clip, which are two things that you never see Nate Danielson do. So it was really good. But what we're going to do before we break down the huge news, we're going to take a quick break for a word from our word from our sponsors, and we'll be right back in just a minute. So hang tight for just a minute. NFL Week 1 is here, and a new season means new ways to get in on the action at DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NFL. Ready to place your first bet? Try betting on something simple like picking a player to score a touchdown. You could also pick the Lions to win the Super Bowl, although I might hold off a little bit after that Week 1 performance. Let's hope they get a little bit better. Ready to do a touchdown dance of your own? Score big with DraftKings Sportsbook, the best place to bet touchdowns. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app and use code THPN. That's code THPN for new customers to get $250 in bonus bet when you bet just $5 and get 1 month of NFL Plus Premium on us. Only on DraftKings, the crown is yours.
Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. In New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369. In Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly. On behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort in Kansas, 21 and over. Age and eligibility varies by jurisdiction. Void in New Hampshire, Oregon, and Ontario. Bonus bets expire 168 hours after issuance. For additional terms and responsible gaming resources, see dkng.co/ftball. NFL Plus Premium offer available only to new and former NFL Plus subscribers. Additional NFL Plus Premium terms at nfl.com/terms.
This episode of the Grindline Podcast is brought to you by BetterHelp. Is there a skill you've been meaning to learn? Something you see someone else doing, you're saying, man, I think I'd be really good at that, or that would be a ton of fun. Kids are always learning and growing, but as adults, sometimes we lose that curiosity. Therapy can help you reconnect with your sense of wonder because your back to school era can come at any age. Therapy has a stigma of just being for people that are experiencing trauma in their lives, but it can be for anyone and can help with things like coping skills and setting healthy boundaries to make you a better person. If you're thinking of starting therapy, give BetterHelp a try. It's entirely online, designed to be convenient, flexible, and suited to your schedule. Just fill out a brief questionnaire to get matched with a licensed therapist. You don't like the one you're matched with? You can switch at any time for no additional charge. Rediscover your curiosity with BetterHelp. Visit betterhelp.com/THPN today to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/THPN. Good news, everybody. Ryan, is that exciting enough for you?
That's better. Little
Okay,
forced,
great.
but I'll take it. I'll allow it.
I look like Professor Farnsworth from Futurama. Good news, everyone. Lucas Raymond, after weeks of bitching, has signed his contract.
Weeks? I would go
weeks,
months.
Months. Okay, months. Almost a year. Someone said Yzerman's had a whole year to do this, which I think is like overthinking it.
Oh,
Like you
calm
needed
down.
to see what would happen this last season before you even thought about signing a contract. But Lucas Raymond signs 8 years, $8.075 million. As pointed out by Pierre LeBrun, that is flat throughout, no signing bonuses. And in the last years 5 through 8, he has a 10-team no trade clause. You did it, Steve Yzerman. 2 down, 1 to go. But I think the big thing about this is that his 8-year deal was projected by Evolving Hockey, who are eerily close most of the time, was projected to be $8.866 million. So he is almost $800,000 under what Evolving Hockey projected him at. It's important. This super important. You cannot stress the importance of this signing. He still might not be at training camp because he's still going to need a US work visa. Last we heard, the process to get those right now is painful, and they've been taking longer than normal. So if they can get a visa figured out in 2 days and get him over to the US, that would be phenomenal. He could make it to training camp.
I'm not too concerned about that aspect. They'll do what they got to do. They've got people that have been doing this for a very long time, so they'll figure it out somewhere or the other. But let's freaking go. That's one. That to me, this could very well be the player of your future.
I think you're banking on it. You're banking on it with the contract.
But yeah, but I'm just saying the way that what we saw last season with Raymond basically having that breakout year is that he is now going to take that next step. You need him to take that next step, to your point. But if he does, for one, this deal becomes a steal, much like Tim Stutzle's deal with Ottawa. He's making a little bit, I think $2 million more or $2.5 million more than what Raymond is.
But
about
Elliot
the same
Friedman
time
says
frame.
that a lot of the GMs across the league think Tim Stutzle is overpaid.
Well, but you look at the deals that these guys have at 22 years old, not even touching the prime of their careers yet, and they're already putting up the points that they are.
Oh, yeah.
As we see this salary cap expand, look at the Tampa deals that we had talked about previously in the work that Yzerman had done there. That's what you need. And if this salary cap continues to bloom in the way that we hope it does, this deal and the Cider deal, if this crashes home here in the next couple of days, they're going to be nothing. And you know
and
what?
Larkin for that purpose.
Well, yeah, and Larkin as well. And that is what sets this team up for success in the long run. It allows them to go after a top tier free agent that we all clamor about year in and year out. And it lets you just be at that next level. What happened? Never know. Hockey's a crazy sport. Things could go sideways. But I think with what we've seen the last couple of years from Lucas Raymond and the growth in general, this was a no-brainer in my opinion. And I absolutely love it. It's a great deal. I think you mentioned Evolving. It came under their projection by almost $800,000. That is a big win. And that's a lot of money when it comes to an NHL salary cap. Other sports, you're like $800,000. What, did they just forget to tip somebody? If you look into the NFL, But no, the NHL, that's a big deal. And that's why, like when we started off with Burgers, that contract was important because right now, you look at the situation that Detroit's in, they now have 8.74 roughly $1 million to work with to get Mo Seider under contract. Now, you have to assume, because I think with Puckpedia, when you check that out, I think they still have a leg on the defense. So that's
Yep.
another roughly $1 million coming off or whatever his contract is. So,
So, but I looked at that, Ryan. That is
uh
going to come off, but Albert Johansson's cap hit is not on yet. So those are going to swap
ah,
places.
okay. So yeah, you're looking at roughly 8.7. And that's not including, and I think you mentioned this in the tweet from earlier, what they could end up doing on the goaltender front, because I still struggle seeing them roll with 3 goalies, but you never know what's going to happen. So finally, it's done. I was not really too concerned about it. I think if we entered the start of training camp and at least one of them wasn't done, I was going to start getting concerned. But we're there. We've got the goal scoring guy now set. Let's bring home the anchor on the D. Love it.
Finally, I guess that would be the first thing I would like to say. I'm not sure what took so long. I'm guessing just Yzerman wanted to
It's
keep
the art of the
the
deal, man. Art of the
yeah,
deal.
keep the contract down, kind of win the deal. And I take back what I said last week about this. Um, we kind of said, I kind of said maybe Steve Yzerman needs to adapt a little bit and start giving in a little bit. But you know what? I take that back because he didn't give in and he got a little bit of a bargain. I think I remember saying anywhere between 7.5 and 8.25 would probably get it done in an 8-year deal. And that's exactly where we fell into. Was it 8.025 or something like that? Is that what yeah. So
8.075.
okay. So splitting hairs, basically $8.1 million per year is basically what it boils down to. So minus, 25,000 or whatever. But whatever, that's nothing when it comes to
Want to do any more
NHL
math while you're at it?
contracts. No, I don't. But this contract looks very similar. I know we've kind of made this comparison, maybe not apples to apples, but kind of what we hope this player can become. And it just kind of takes me back to the first David Pastrnak extension that Boston signed on September 14, 2017. They gave him a 6-year, $40 million contract, which essentially was 6.66 million. Now, a lot of people are saying, okay, well, it's 6 years versus 8 years. Okay, there's a big difference there. But when you call for inflation with the 6.66 million, that's probably equivalent similar to what Raymond is getting now with the Wings. And that was when Pastrnak was getting ready to hit his stride. And I feel like Raymond at 22 years old is getting ready to hit his stride with hitting 31 goals and 30 goals for the first time in his career. So we can't be any more excited. You win the contract, but most importantly, you get the contract done right before training camp. Is he going to be there? Who knows? He'll at least play in 1 or 2 of the preseason games, maybe more. Who knows? But regardless of the situation, he's been training. It's not like he's just been sitting out and doing nothing. He's been in Sweden training with Mo Seider, which is the next contract that needs to get done, which hopefully that will get done. Probably after we post this, a couple hours after we post this is when he'll end up signing, just because it's our luck. But regardless, I'm glad they got it done, and you guys all should be too. Anyone that's saying that this is an overpayment is a fucking moron.
I have not seen that once from anyone.
I have on Twitter already.
You need to start blocking some people. I just
Yeah.
saw a funny tweet though that their Habs fans are wilding out today, saying that they're like Lucas Raymond's making more than Slavkovsky.
Tree man boy, what a post.
Yes, that is
Okay.
because he is better than Slavkovsky, and they even spelled Lucas Raymond's name wrong. But players that Lucas Raymond is now making less money than include Timo Meyer, include Sam Reinhart, because Sam Reinhart got paid for his explosive goals season, and hopefully he lives up to that. He is making less money than Bo Horvat. He is making less money than Pierre-Luc Dubois. He is making less money currently than 30-year-old Mark Scheifele. He is making less money than Thomas Hertl. Right now, Lucas Raymond sits between Brent Burns and Jordan Kyrou for the 66th most expensive contract in the NHL. Like we're going to say repeatedly, probably throughout the next few seasons, hopefully, is that this contract is just going to look better and better as time goes on. If Lucas Raymond continues to develop the way he has developed this past season, if he took that step, I don't think he's going to take that another explosive step like he did the second half of this season. But if he can go from 30, 31 goals to 35 goals this season, and he's an 80-point player, he's a 75-point player, that's what you're looking. Right now, you're looking for incremental steps. And it's just, again, it's a guy that he believes in himself. He's going to keep gaining weight. He's going to keep building muscle. He's going to hopefully become a guy who's built like, because he's shorter, but he's going to be one of those tree trunks for legs dudes. And he's going to fly up the ice and he's going to put it in the net. And that's what we hope for out of Lucas Raymond. Huge deal to get done. And just absolutely relieved that now tomorrow I'm probably going to have to record a 10-minute episode about the fucking Moritz Seider contract that is bound to get signed. But
that would be the ideal scenario.
Do you guys have a player comparison as to who you think Lucas Raymond could potentially become? Like what I know some people don't like to do that, but like I feel like it's something to talk about, number one and number two. I'm interested in what you guys think about that.
That's hard because it's hard to look at like, oh, there's a winger that I want Lucas Raymond to become, because forever in the NHL, they shied away from what you would consider smaller players. I guess if Lucas Raymond became, I don't even want to say like 30 goal scoring Alex DeBrincat, because I think Lucas Raymond can be better than that. So I can't off the top of my head think of a comparison that would really make sense. Like you mentioned Pasta, if Lucas Raymond could score at will like David Pastrnak, like let's fucking go. I'm there all day for that. But that's a huge level to reach.
What about like a William Nylander? I know Nylander's a little bit bigger, but I feel like there's some similarities there.
Nylander was, but for a while, Nylander was a hot and cold kind of guy too. And I don't wish for Raymond to go through something like that either. Ryan, do you have any examples? Anyone you can think of?
I mean, I'm looking at right wingers. I like the young Pasta, but the natural goal scoring, I need more out of Ray. But that might even be demanding a lot. I don't know. Like you could look at maybe an Andrei Svechnikov type player, where he's a bit more physical, can do it at both sides in terms of scoring goals, but setting dudes up. Last year, he had a season decimated with injuries, but he still put up 52 points in 59 games, even though he couldn't stay healthy. I mean,
you guys are gonna call me crazy, but I see some Datsuk in him. Not because he's a center, but the cerebral way that he plays the game. Maybe it's more of like a Zetterberg, but just like the way he plays the game, he plays it very smart. He's good defensively, not amazing defensively, but he definitely has worked on that. And he's not, he's 5'10", but I feel like he doesn't play 5'10".
Okay.
No.
What about Artemi Panarin?
Okay, I can see that.
I like that.
What if you make the Panarin comparison? If you look at Panarin's career, so Panarin's 6 foot, 175 pounds. He only scored over like this past season he had 49 goals, which was crazy for him, because previously he had 29, 22, 17, 32, 28, 27. But he always ended up with assist numbers like 63 assists, 74, 41, 63, which got him most seasons between 80 and 96 points for most seasons. So this past season, 120 points, insane season for Artemi Panarin, was not the norm. It shows what he can do, but not what he's historically known for doing. So I think if Lucas Raymond could get those kind of numbers, because he is a good setup guy, and if he continues playing with high level talent, he could hit those 50, 60 assist numbers while potting 25, well, let's say 26 to 35 goals. You're hitting Panarin style numbers there at maybe around the same build. So I think that, to me, if he could do that, that is probably going to be the closest comparable. And right now, Artemi Panarin is making $11.642857 million per season on an $81 million contract.
And something I really hope for out of that comparison, if you're going with the assist route, is that means we're now seeing a full 40 goal potential scorer from Alex DeBrincat. I think you
Yep.
need that. And that's also not even taking into account what Tarasenko is going to bring to the offensive side of things with what Raymond could do, especially when it comes to the power play. Granted, I think Tarasenko mostly has done his damage the last year and a half, 2-ish years at even strength, which is really what Detroit needs. But Tarasenko, Kane, DeBrincat, Larkin, a lot of guys up in those top lines that are really going to benefit Comfort for that matter, because we saw how he came on late. That could help him out and really put him over the edge. But then you even look at the bottom six, like if Burgers is in the lineup, you got the Swedish connection there. Not saying that that's just because they're Swedes that that's going to happen, but that offensive mind between the two of those guys can make something happen. So I think that's what's important, though, when you look at Raymond as a whole. And we struggled a little bit to make a true comparison, but you also look at just what he can do. He can play anywhere in the lineup and he's going to be effective. I think that's what sets him apart than most of the guys on this roster outside of a Dylan Larkin. And Cat, debatable on where you can really put him to maintain that high level of goal scoring. I think last year he was more or less snake bitten because he probably had the most posts hit on the team. But that Raymond's a guy that when he's on the ice, the team has been better. And if that can continue, they're only going to continue to improve as a team. And that's, I think, very critical to their success and taking that next step forward.
Yeah, no doubt. The one just quick thing in terms of comparison, I'm glad you said that because there's no direct comparison. Like with some players, you can see, oh yeah, this guy is a younger version and maybe a faster version of this player. But with Lucas Raymond, it's interesting because he's not quite the goal scorer of like David Pastrnak or Panarin, but he's very like I feel like those players are more like offensively, but they don't play a whole lot of defense. Where Raymond doesn't care to come back. He'll come back and he'll help out and he'll do what he has to do to pick somebody up on defense, and he'll win a battle in the corner here or there. Like that's why I mean, hey, you know what? At the end of the day, we would just love him to be Lucas Raymond, NHL superstar Lucas Raymond. Be your own player. But in terms of where he fits in the lineup, yeah, you're right. He can play up and down the lineup. He could kill penalties if needed. You're probably not going to put him there, but he could do it if needed. Like I said, he's a smart fucking player.
I think you do, almost.
You could. He's an effective player. Again, he has a motor. He's not like one of those players that just quits on plays. Like we saw that with Zadina back in the day, and we've seen that with some higher draft picks. He doesn't quit on plays. He's really good at hunting pucks. That's kind of why I said that's who comparison. But again, there's no perfect comparison. That's kind of why I asked that question.
One small point. I think to your point about him not being on the PK, I see that changing. You want your best players on the ice. And he is not a guy that shies away. And we really saw this come out of him last season with the aggressiveness on the puck. We knew that it was coming a couple of years ago with what we saw in preseason, going into training camp, the way that he was going into one-on-one battles in particular. But then we saw that starting to translate last season, the way he was more aggressive and not afraid to go after a guy that was the puck carrier, especially when he got pissed off.
Yeah,
like he would take it to a new level and want that puck for himself and then go make shit happen. If he can now bring that level of defensive play out, and now you can put him and Larkin on your PK as forwards. I'm not saying it's going to happen, but if you've got that in your hip pocket, especially if you need to get a spark when you're down by a goal late in the game, and you've got Larkin and Raymond as your PK guys, now can spark a 2-on-1 the other way, I'll take that all day, because now you can make your comparison with the Datsyuk or Zetterberg, because those guys were doing that through their prime years and when going toward a Stanley Cup.
And I think you could also see a little bit of I don't know if it's on his part or if it was the other way around, but it sure seemed like it was on his part, of the leadership and the holding other guys accountable to where he literally fought Ben Sherratt at a practice. Like he fought Ben Sherratt, and then like the next day Ben Sherratt went out, or later on, Ben Sherratt went out and stood up for Lucas Raymond during a game.
That's beautiful.
Like,
Within a
it's
day.
it's big guy attitude is what's happening with Lucas Raymond, and it needs to continue, because I think absolutely with a contract like this, he's in prime position to also, I think, wear an A, if
I
not
was
this
just
season,
about to
but
say
the
that.
next.
Hey, give me a reason to go back to vintage and get that sewn on.
Yeah, but I think that's where we're gonna leave it tonight. I'm gonna get final thoughts before we sign off, before I have to do this all again tomorrow. I also have to get this up tomorrow because I have jury duty on Wednesday, which is super not cool. But I will be, I think, in a court room on Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. So that's very dumb. But final thoughts before we go, and we'll start with Tyler.
Yeah, final thoughts are I can't even believe we're talking about hockey season yet. It's kind of crazy that like I just remember the Stanley Cup final ending like it was yesterday, and here we are again talking about the winged wheel, talking about a chance at making the playoffs again for the first time in what, 8 years now. And Lucas Raymond is a huge part of it, as is Berggren. So hopefully Sider gets signed. Hopefully we Greg, not for your sake, but hopefully for the Wings' sake and us as fans and followers of the team, get to celebrate another contract, because these contracts now are for what these players are going to do, not what they've done previously. So let's just hope we can get that contract. I guess it's a little bit of both with these two, that because they're your cornerstones. But yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, this is what we look forward to, and pretty soon we'll be talking about training camp, and pretty soon we'll be talking about preseason, and after that it'll be the regular season, and here we go. So final thoughts, and you can follow me on Twitter at SealDog91.
2 down, 1 to go. Already ran 33.
And you can follow me online at Bringing the Wing. Follow the Grindline Podcast online at Grindline Pod. Give a shout out to the Hockey Podcast Network and thank them for spreading us around. Also to Vintage Detroit, which is the only place you should get your Detroit jerseys from and worked on, and where we have an exclusive t-shirt deal. If you go there and click on the Keep It Local tab, you'll find the Grindline Podcast, and you will find our designs up there. You can also go over to YouTube, check out our channel, sub to us, turn on the notifications. You'll get notified every time an episode goes live. And we do have Patreon. If you go to patreon.com/the Grindline Podcast, you can sub to our Patreon. And during the season, we're going to kick up some extra content, not bonus episodes, but parts of episodes that are cut off probably towards the end, we'll put up on Patreon for our Patreon subscribers. And we do take questions from our Patreon subscribers as well. But that is going to do it for us tonight. So for Ryan and Tyler, I am Greg. You stay classy, Hockey Town.